him.
I know, and he would make that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, New York loves Peanut, the nut god.
I mean, I think collectively Peanut is very well beloved. Not playing too well thus far, but hopefully they can turn that around. And let's be real, any real DK heads know that it's going to come down to game 3. There's absolutely zero shot DK win game 2. So we're going to see what the setup is going to be for that second game. There's a lot of the power picks already gone. That is one thing that I do think really is something that DK can be happy about, is look at those picks on the enemy team and just think about how good they are for each of the individual players and be glad about the fact they're gone, because literally every single one, I think that Varus is the only one, like, I feel like Viper is just can literally do anything, so I think in his case I'm not too strong, but Zeka Azir, Peanut Sejuani, ZEUS Jace, taking those off the board's definitely going to feel good. So what is the... What are we wanting? Poppy, yeah?
No, I mean, they're going to ban it here again.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, because otherwise that is a B1.
Yeah, especially Peanut in his current state. I said it before, I think you just want to get him comfort, and Poppy would be that comfort. So now that Sejuani's gone, it's like, do you play Maokai? Well, of course not. You're going to first pick Taliyah here, and then you're making a decision.
And the Showmaker's going to, what, like Victor? Yone is banned. Ari's already gone.
Could play Ryze.
Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. They've been prioritizing that pretty heavily. Pantheon Ryze
up.
Pantheon Ryze for Lucid Showmaker?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me, Valdez.
It's 2 semi-globals. Right off the bat, you can match Taliyah. It's got a good lane into the Taliyah. You can just wave clear and not really care about what she's doing when you get Catalyst. She doesn't have enough damage in the Pantheon. Yeah, this is like
it's a great opener.
This is a fantastic start for DK in the draft.
Really doesn't bode well for the game, I gotta say. This is all. It's lining up too well.
It's too good.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stop memeing because I can't both simultaneously hold the opinion that curses aren't real and then say stuff like this.
Yeah,
I feel like that.
That's true.
The Wukong would make a ton of sense. We've also seen that the Wukong-Taliyah combo a little bit more reliant on hitting level 6 than a lot of the champions you generally like to see with the Taliyah. But Xin Zhao's gone, Pantheon's gone, so, and Vi is banned. So not a lot of other point-and-click-esque pickups that you can realistically go for. This is both a pick away. Lucid has not recently picked the champion up a lot, but we do know that he plays it. As, oh my, that is a Sion blind for ZEUS here.
That is very weird. That doesn't... That just feels weird. Like, why is ZEUS playing Sion?
What's it going to be, Shio? I was also thinking maybe something like the community.
Ambessa.
Ambessa is what he would often, what he has prioritized. Really good into tanks as well.
You know, it's also good into tanks and just got buffed.
It actually is.
CHO'GATH. There it is. Now, it could also be mid. I don't think it will be. But Showmaker has played it before, and Ryze could play into Sion, technically. I think it should be top, though.
It really should be. Curious to see what type of setup it is going to be. Because, you know, theoretically, particularly with Rocket Belt, I think right now in a really good spot, could be that that's the type of build you're going for. My expectation is that it's just going to be straight tank. And obviously, playing Sion into the CHO'GATH, quite rough. Actually, channeling a Q is hard because he has his knock-up, he has his Feral Scream as well. And then the fact that you have 1k true damage on an ultimate definitely means that you're not going to be nearly as tanky as otherwise you would be, as the Xayah going to get taken away. And then an Ezreal Prio is the most likely here for aiming. You could also go, like with a comp like this, I think you can also go for... Well, you can go MF. I think you can also go for stuff like Jhin. I just don't think that aiming will go towards that. His Senna performance, though, was really, really good. A barrel counter pick also seems quite likely. Unless they, like, because I'm looking, I don't think there's a lot of engage support. Like maybe Leona on 4.
Yeah.
If you ban Braum here, but they're not. So, and you're not blinding Braum, I hope. We've seen that a bunch of times, and it always fills us with flaming hot rage.
Do not do it. The MF banned by DK is an interesting sight, just because it is aiming and MF.
So then you really look into Ezreal, though, because you don't want to give him the lane. There is the Braum ban, so at least we don't have to see it blinded, which is good. You could also go Ashe if you want to. not as high on the prio list. I think Ezreal makes the most sense into Wukong and into Taliyah as well, right? Able to continuously and freely get out. Leona blind now, I think, is fine. With the Braum already taken off the board, and there's not a lot of Primo engage support still available. This is safer, though.
Yeah, if you don't pick Ezreal here, I think there's a good chance it gets taken away.
It will, yeah.
With MF off the board, it just feels like he can just do whatever he wants in the lane. So Ezreal comes out. They hover the Leona, which could have been a mind game as well. Maybe Barrel's thinking about something different
Jhin,
entirely.
Leona, Kai'Sa Leona. Rakan, I'm double checking. Could also go for that, like Jhin Rakan or Kai'Sa Rakan. Jhin, Viper has been exceptional at this champion. And the Leona pick away makes a ton of sense, right? Like, what are you really afraid of walking into? Knowing Barrel, is he just gonna slam the Rakan?
Karma. You definitely lack a lot of engage if you don't pick an engage support,
they're definitely going to engage into you. So,
yeah,
from that perspective, it's not too bad.
Could also try for like a Nico.
Nico for the lane.
Yeah.
And
Nico
again,
for the lane, and it gives you some sort of engage.
It does. It also is, I think, really good into a lot of what HANWHA have. Because HANWHA's composition outside of the Jhin is very short range. So
you don't really have a way to close the gap. So definitely going to be a little bit of onus on Peanut, which hasn't been a great angle for HANWHA Life Esports in the last couple of weeks. So definitely going to be looking at that Wukong for me, as it looks like we are ready. Let's hop on the rift here for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초.
All right, here we go. Game number 2. Can DK break the curse?
Shoo, that's not toy CHO'GATH. That's the best one.
What about Gentleman?
It's so fun. Well, I think Gentleman is the best skin to play yourself because of the voice lines. But I
Up you
like,
go.
yeah, it's exceptional, right? But I love toy CHO'GATH because he's just a really awkwardly walking toy.
So DK do not know about this, but aiming checks and misses. So now everybody's coming out of the brush. That's Cleanse already out of aiming, and there's not much that Showmaker can do with just a Z. That's first blood over to Viper's Jhin already.
Gonna be feeling good about this one if you're HANWHA Life. Showmaker also taking a good amount of damage. Obviously not in a position to trade back, just has to kind of eat this. That is the kill going over the Viper as well. So things not looking too hot. Aiming also out of the lane. We'll see what ends up happening when it comes to the experience. It's definitely going to miss the one minion. One minion, not the end of the world. I think looks like he will be in range for the rest of them. But going to be guaranteed lane prio here for the Light and Viper, so they're going to be very happy. Because Nico is one of those picks that you do also pick to try and aggressively contest for level 2, right? Gain control of the lane early on. Because the Leona, outside of actually getting on top of you, doesn't have too much early impact.
Yeah, as we do see the level 2 attempted there, but Aiming and Barrel just respect it, back away. As I say that, Barrel walks into the brush, takes a trade, but that's just fine. He's not really in any danger here. As we do see, Viper, no losses on the Jhin, and Zeka gets another premium mid laner as the first pick. It does feel like it's you can put Azir with pretty much anything, and the same thing for Taliyah. You can put it with pretty much anything, and they're top tier mid laners. So he's eating well so far.
Oh, big.
He was not taking great trades. The last player to play this was Rascal against Kana,
DK
who was still
Kana.
here.
Wow, that's a while back. So the reason why the CHO'GATH is a good matchup, we already mentioned. There's a lot of ways, as we saw there, to interrupt his decimating smash. There's also the fact that your E, once you start getting some points into it, and then we are seeing he's going for the E max, you will be doing a lot of damage. And this sustain is really a big deal. I think Sion's early damage in particular can really catch people off guard, but you don't have a lot of burst, right? You're just able to slowly whittle people down with short trades with your shield and grasp. but CHO'GATH doesn't really suffer from that because he can just sustain off of the wave and not be in too much trouble. So expect to see that be a thing that Xiu tries to use. But also, you're CHO'GATH, so as long as you just get to play out your lane, you're always going to be very happy because you scale insanely well. And again, CHO'GATH's biggest issue, I think, which is why the funny movement speed build was so good, is getting on top of people. Not a problem into the HANWHA comp.
Yeah, they will get on top of you. You don't need to worry about it all too much. So, and you've got this Nico, you've got the Pantheon. There's a lot of ways to follow up and land your Qs and stuff. So, you know, follow-up CC is going to be the name of the game for Xiu. And really like the Ryze choice. We've been seeing this a lot more into the Taliyah in the mid lane. Just kind of ignore the trades, and you eventually just kind of out-sustain. And
it's going to
having a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lucid is in the area, as is Peanut. So we'll see if this leads to anything. There is Vision. Lane gank could be possible, but really, these two top laners are not the most threatening. So even if you do hit all your skills, it's going to take... it's probably not worth the time, and neither jungler seems to think that it would be.
You're right about the Sion, though, and Xiu is going to respect that. We do have Beryl, or not Beryl, Delight. It always, whenever I see Leona, I'm like, that's Beryl. But in this case, it's not.
I didn't check the skin, but like, especially if he'd also be playing the... He's not playing the skin.
All right, flash on in. Delight going to trade for that. Wave is pushing into Viper and Delight. They're going to be happy about that as well. Xiu going to have to back away from this lane.
Yeah, wave state definitely a bit abhorrent there. But it looks like DK is just going to accept a dragon instead and then keep Xiu in that awkward matchup. Even without the Q-Max, Cho's ability to farm from a distance is okay. So he'll be able to at least get a little bit of resources. See what the wave state is, though, because if Lucid doesn't make his way up at all, I don't know at what point Xiu is going to be able to fix this. So that is something. But they do get an early Drake here. Does DK for their troubles.
Yeah. Aiming knocked up by a Scion as Ezreal.
Looks like the wave is being set up to crash in top again. So don't think Xiu is going to be too bothered, and he did just get a base in, so shouldn't be diveable, almost has his ult available as well.
Showmaker missing a couple of minions there, trying to get a quick back in. And Xiu just hanging out with his buddy, the turret. He's been playing this one very safe. I feel like a CHO'GATH that falls behind early turns out to be very useless very quickly. So I think Xiu knows that even if he falls behind a little bit, as long as he doesn't get dove. As I'm saying that, though, we do have Peanut and Delight here. No root, though, and Xiu is level 6. But
With
still in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he's definitely dead.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if he can outplay to maybe take a kill. I don't think he can clear the wave from a distance.
Oh, they're trying to dive here. As Lucid just going on the bottom side. You see the ult come in. That's first blood, or rather second blood, going over to DK. And Xiu not dying just yet. The damage is not there. Tekka not going to be able to tank it up. Has to back, and Delight goes down too as Showmaker, roam up to the top lane, picks up a free one.
I'm hearing Xiu yells behind me. Justified. I really did not think he was going to be able to clear the wave there and somehow survive, as this bot side play, this is also part of the reason why you pick Sion, right? Like, I don't think there's a way for ZEUS to really live here. Tries to at least trade, not going to be able to do so. Gets most of the wave, but then here, he's able to get access to the wave. He goes wide from Delight, and Delight is also tanking. So you have that wave coming in. It's well played by Xiu. Also a bit of a disaster from HANWHA Life, right? Like, why are we taking turret aggro when he was clearly not going to be able to get the full wave?
He's just saying, you did well. Take the kill, I think is what he's saying.
He did.
He did take the kill. So that's now not a CHO'GATH who's behind. He's actually very happy.
And if CHO'GATH is ahead, that's generally not a good thing. When you have a team that has notorious tank hater Jin.
Yeah.
Taliyah, both Taliyah and Peanut will still be fine, right? Wukong does kind of shred through tanks once he gets his core of Triforce and Cleaver. But if Wukong is attacking Xiu, I think DK are generally going to be pretty happy about the state of affairs. It's possible bot side play maybe being set up, and these early globals working well for DK. Now, HANWHA Live, I don't think they're going to be too bothered. They still have a ton of power in their composition when it comes to these fights, and they can snowball fights very quickly because of the Jhin. We've seen that a lot, where if a team tries to go for an over-aggressive play, and then they get stuck in a Jhin ultimate and just kind of whittle down from there. The fact that that ZEUS is still in this 1v2, because Viper isn't really being able to do a whole lot of pushing, because the light is out on the map.
Yeah.
The light needed to cover for ZEUS, but because the light is covering, Shio is just chilling in top.
Yeah, he's just farming it. Just getting stacks on his feast.
Should be.
Is that 2? Maybe 3?
The grubs did go over to HANWHA Live. That's always a feels good, man, if you're CHO'GATH. Just eating one of those grubs early on. Because you can only get 6 stacks on your ultimate from the minions, which he is now on 2. Just used its ult off cooldown. So that's a nice cancel.
Yeah. Feels very weird again to see ZEUS playing the Sion and just kind of weak siding it.
The charitable approach is we went for some data. For HANWHA Live this match, you know, in the grand scheme of things, not the biggest deal. That is a charitable approach, though, because I'm not sure why we're picking the one player that was getting a humongous lead in the last game, even though it didn't end up being enough. Sion blind?
Yeah, like Sion is strong.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. It's just not really a ZEUS champion, so...
well, I think there is value, right, in being able to play different styles. Oh, Zeka, the ult.
Yeah, trying to make his way up here. Siu does have his flash, and he's going to use it here on the seismic shove. And he's just tanky enough. I mean, he's got a couple of health items already, and 2 stacks on his feast.
Diving CHO'GATH is always a precarious thing, and I'm kind of glad they don't. Also, Siu did go for the back to ensure that he wasn't diveable, so that means that ZEUS is going to get this wave in the turret. I think he gets a plate, but because it's a cannon wave, Siu is not going to be missing out on too much. But yeah, trying to dive a CHO'GATH is always rough, and then there's also a Pantheon, which was nearby. So there's the plate, but not going to be getting too much, and DK are setting up and are going to get this second Dragon Valdez, and as long as it's not Chemtech, Ocean, I guess Ocean also is a little...
It's Chemtech.
Well, I know we're getting the cam, right? We have to.
This is a Nico getting engaged on here. Beryl not in a great spot, but he is just going to walk this. Okay, aiming, not going to block for that. Seemed like a very straight up one, but he elected not to. Instead, he said, I'm the 80 carry. I'm not going to block for you. Beryl also could have flashed. They just said, no, you know what, Beryl, you've made a mistake. Accept your death. I think that's his comfort zone anyway.
Yeah, Beryl deaths aren't real. Unless they are, you know?
He did give a second kill to Viper's Jhin.
Well, I don't think it was good. I don't like it, but if you're buying into the Beryl mythos, then this is fine. It doesn't really mean too much.
It's just the way it is. It is what it is.
But 2 Drakes. Now looking at the possible value for a Chemtech, I got no cope. I guess you have shielding on, you know, on Rise. You have shielding or healing for Siu. But
yeah, I think it's just bad for this comp.
Yeah, I don't really see it.
Maybe they'll get some of the individual ones. The Soul is always going to be pretty good.
Well, CHO'GATH will become unkillable.
Yeah.
So that's nice at least. As we take another look here.
Okay. 13% less killable. My W in 1 second.
I was kind of expecting a huh? When Beryl just like takes the first shot and just straight up dies.
Angles are difficult. Yeah, this is why Rise doesn't care, because you just walk up to Talia, you take a bunch of rocks to the face, and you win the trade.
You literally, you take the combo, and he's just sitting on Catalyst.
Yeah,
works.
Catalyst is the best item in the game.
It's good. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of outspoken people who have strong opinions that I think on Rise, actually finishing Royal makes sense because it's Rise, right? So like, these skills of mana, it's kind of a no-brainer. But a lot of other champions, you can just be very happy just sitting on Catalyst because of the sustain.
Yeah.
As we do have Siu, the Heartsteel stacking has begun. The time
Get in there!
is finally
Get
here. We already did. So he's already at
For the
19.
grasp. The grasp. He gets in,
yeah.
gets another one.
Can we actually
another one?
Can we get a
get in
grasp check
Get in there.
from our space? Is that a thing we can get? I want to know who's been grasping better.
Always a good thing to look at. Showmaker in a bit of trouble here. Is going to try to flash away, and even with the Roa against 3 people, he will go down. We do have Lucid trying to join on in, but he's going to get knocked back. Delight in a rough spot as the spear gets him, but at the same time, it's 2 for 1, and they get free time with this turret. Even picking up 1 plate before it does go down, so HANWHA Life going to like this trade.
Really big win there for HANWHA. Nicely done. Able to both punish Showmaker and then Lucid in an attempt to save his mid laner. Ends up going down. Viper, I think, picked up an assist there as well for his troubles. And she, you know, like he's winning the lane, but winning the lane just means he's pushing in waves and he's scaling. So he's not really going to be able to do
Does
just that.
CHO'GATH have scales? Like a dragon would?
Oh, I don't. I think it's more like
It's like spikes.
plating. Well, it's more like a ZEUS, you know, like like the insect. What is it called? Exoskeleton. I think.
Something like that.
As Showmaker, I wonder if he flashed the initial Leona stun, and maybe it would have been okay because he would have gotten over the wall. But unfortunately,
If he gets over the wall, maybe. But if he doesn't and gets bounced, then probably not. Delight just dies here. Not sure exactly how that originated, but it does mean that this Rift Herald will go over to DK. Still a very close game in terms of gold, but DK are getting all the objectives.
Well, they also can turn this, I think, into Dragon Pressure, right? Because it's very early on still, so you can play for this topside turret because Delight is dead.
Zeka.
That was very unnecessary. Well, HANWHA, okay. DK are actually playing the map well. They have double globals, right? I want to give them credit for that, even though HANWHA Life found a nice counterpunch on bot. But HANWHA Life also are just walking into these continuous skill shots, and like with Shiyu, when he got dove, at least it made sense. It felt like an actual trap. That was Zeka just walking up, knowingly that they were taking the Herald, because Delight just died there, and he's giving up his flash for no reason.
Yeah, we're getting some grasp numbers.
Oh my god, they're even!
They're exactly even right
At 15 minutes, they both had 13 stacks. They both gotten 65 max health. Love to see
It kind of does make sense, like 2 beefy boys just attacking each other at the same time. We do have a setup here for the first Chemtech Drake. Rift Herald going mid for pressure. And HANWHA Life, I mean, this is just 1 Drake. We'll see if they do commit to this as the Realm Orb comes in. He's just gonna, not eat it. Messes up the timing, but it's still a fight that is good for DK. Zeka in a lot of trouble. Some shots do go into the CHO'GATH though, as they finally do take out Zeka, but are they too deep is the question. Peanut's gonna flash away, and ZEUS is leading the charge here. Beryl in a very awkward spot, and should eventually be taken down. But look at the right side of this fight as a bunch of damage going into Delight. Lucid just trying to survive. He gets chopped down by the Wukong. And now Showmaker going 1v3. Not the best spot for him. Should eventually be taken down. Double kill, and the Root comes in onto aiming. But he is Ezreal, and he gets away.
HANWHA Life with a big punchback. Mistime there from Shiyu. Doesn't actually get the dragon, and that play would have been as messy as it would have been, but then at least you get the dragon. Instead, big punish to come through. Don't get soul point, and Shiyu, we see how long it takes to get him down, but because he's isolated from the rest of his team, his tankiness doesn't really have any inherent value, and that is going to be a big counter punch. A lot of turrets being taken there as Zeka, I think on the receiving end of an ultimate, but he just walks it off. He's very ready. Not too bothered by that.
Yeah, he skates his stone board away.
I love the idea. Execution, unfortunately, not the best. And the counter-engage from ZEUS there actually gets everyone out, so it's a Zeka alone, and then the rest of the team alone, but there's a Jhin. So even though they do have eventually get up Zeka, the position they find themselves in is very deep into enemy territory. And also, I think they could have disengaged here and just let Beryl die, and it would have been a lot better. But instead, they try to salvage the situation, and it doesn't work.
Now, speaking of Beryl dying, they're going to let him die this time. There's no turret in mid, no turret in top. HANWHA Life got that after the Drake fight, so tons of map control going to them. Beryl does not respect it,
And
not a big surprise.
it is starting to feel like we're on the same timeline.
Yeah.
of a close game 2 that DK lose.
And then a game 3 stomp.
Yeah.
That is the.
We have not. I know a
That's
lot
the
about
formula.
timelines. You know, we've been talking about this. I spent a lot of time.
100 timelines or whatever.
100 endings, and I still think we're on the same one. I think that DK haven't done it yet. HANWHA Life seemingly waking up a little bit, and the team fighting from this core of Jin, Talia, and Wukong, very, very strong. I also think that fight was a bit of a mess for DK, and they're behind, but not substantially so. But it could be a sign of bad things to come for them. Are we really trying to make a play on Sion? I don't...
Yeah, generally not a good idea, especially because they don't have much deep vision at all. So easily they could get counter-ganked, and it's not a fun time. Shiu up to 6 stacks at the moment. I think only one of them was on a champion. That first kill that he got of Delight. But
Yeah, so probably looking for one more. Also, unfortunately, could have had the dragon.
yeah,
Would have been nice. Oh, all of them are minions, actually.
Oh.
So he's just maxed out on stacks that he can get without putting himself in at least a little bit of danger. As a blue buff fight? In my LCK?
our teams love fighting over blue buff nowadays.
Maybe a deep TP from Showmaker?
All right, well, the blue buff's going for a little walk as the TP is not very deep, and now we have Lucid very deep in there as the Nico is going to peel very well for this, though. HANWHA Life are going so deep into this jungle.
Rise is here!
Now, Rise does get here. Barrel the first to go down, but that's just Barrel. But now Shiu in the front line can't do anything, just 100-0'd in a stun lock position. Delight, though, is just going to die? Don't know how Lucid managed that, but now the root comes down, and Viper will collect as this Jin, 5-0-5. Nobody has dealt with him yet.
Yeah, Viper is not losing this game. At least that's his statement. Flashing forward to secure the kill. Lucid, yeah, was just waiting in the brush there, and I thought with the arrival of a Showmaker that would have been enough to try and turn the tides, but not going to be the case. And now HANWHA Life, oh, but certainly picking up this Otacon. So we do in fact get the fight. The big thing is that I think Showmaker is like a second item finish away. So they're a little bit too early here. If Showmaker is here for the entirety of this fight with the bounces, I think maybe it was playable. But the Ultra Barrel only hits the front line. We see a full ultimate that comes out as we do get the confirmation. They did get it. And now, HANWHA Life sitting on a big gold lead, an Otacon, and a DK that I think is just going to try their very best to play for this dragon and get the soul point. But if they don't deal with Viper, they are not winning. If Viper did use his flash, that is a big deal.
Yeah. We're gonna engage on a Barrel once again, who does get that belt off, but he does flash away now. Aiming has to flash over the wall himself, and the engage comes in from ZEUS, and the knockback here from Zeka. It's the 1-2 punch that gets them in position to take this Drake down. A couple of kills go to HLE. This DK very much falling apart now to the engage of HANWHA Life Esports.
As it is written, Valdez. HANWHA Life going to be able to deny the soul point here to DK. Aiming also having to use his flash. Same for Barrel. And if HANWHA Life is the one pulling the shots and DK aren't ready, taking these fights in these narrow corridors, like yes, you have Ryze and Nico, but they have Talia and Wukong and Jin. So as we take another look, a lot of damage goes down on the Light. Shield misses the knock-up, which means that the engage can come through. Great wall here from Zeka, which puts Lucid and Shield in a really awkward scenario. And then the knock-up followed up by the Talia. More than enough damage available. Lucid can't even use ZEUS to taxi out. Damage isn't there. I guess Showmaker, currently sitting on about half a level deficit, will be able to catch up a little bit once that comes through, but feels like the moment might have passed for DK. I still think their late game is good, but this mid game is just not making it work.
Aiming's just being bullied right now. He tries to step up to the Jin, and Viper shows him who's boss.
It's Viper's Jin.
That was all Jin.
This whole game feels like it's been a lot of that.
Viper does kind of decide for his team sometimes that he's just going to carry and win. That does happen relatively often. And this game really fell apart for DK through the mid game. HLE just taking a bunch of great team fights as they normally do. Barrel, gonna block with the clone. He's okay.
They're actually doing damage to ZEUS, guys, I swear. Yeah, we talked a lot about CHO'GATH. We didn't really talk a lot about the fact that ZEUS is also, unless they really focus him and Shield gets in a position to eat him, doesn't really get to do a whole lot.
Well, there haven't been any fights that have led to that situation. There was the one dragon fight where she was realm warped in to try to get the dragon, didn't get the dragon,
Ulting!
and immediately died. Here comes Viper, the flash on in, immediate cleanse. Meanwhile, we've got Delight making plays up on the top side, and they don't even get Viper, who just walks it off and laughs at them. Now the wall's going to come down, aiming, being attacked from so many different angles, and he doesn't get to play the game. SION here is just walking. He is just walking.
It was the Hail Mary. I think Showmaker tried to Realm Warp behind Viper as well, with Luce coming on the deal, and then Showmaker's Realm Warp got interrupted and he just died. They found him. They snuffed him out. And now the game certainly going to the game number 3 that we were expecting, Valdez.
Yeah, it's looking like it. They're not going to end it just now because we do have Baron in 20 seconds. So gonna back away, spend that gold, go take an objective, and then end the game. But this one is certainly... Okay, well, that was very troll.
Look at Peanut's face! Look, Zeka's not smiling at all!
He's stealing the Raptors away. Yeah, this was...
So we take another look. It's oh no, this is the aiming pit. Okay. I thought we were gonna get another showing of how Showmaker was gonna... Yeah, so they're trying to make a play and then unceremoniously gets knocked out of his own Realm Warp. And then obviously they're really deep. Viper isn't dead, so they lose the subsequent fight. As far as Hail Marys goes by DK, I didn't mind this one too much, but the game is very much over now, Valdez. Not a whole lot that can be done.
Yeah, it is pretty Grover from here.
I don't see an angle for DK, unless HANWHA Live really just kind of run in and don't do anything.
Good flash from Showmaker. If he doesn't flash there, I think he just dies. But it's just little things from here. The CHO'GATH's still level 13. Peanut goes in for one, and he is taking a bunch of damage. And this is what we were expecting the team fights to look like. You know, HANWHA Live trying to find angles and then kite back from DK, but every single time DK were just shoving their face into them and getting themselves into really rough spots, and HANWHA Live just kind of laughed at them and took the extended play.
Also, big comeback game from Peanut. Right on the Wukong. Feel like his positioning and his follow-up engages have been really, really good. Able to consistently create a lot of space, and Viper has been using that space very well, as we can see from the damage here. I know Zeka's high up, but he has Leandris, you know, so that's kind of cheating. That doesn't really count. He's also hitting a CHO'GATH.
He's had some good walls. I mean, his delay game has been good.
Great, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm just talking about specifically the damage. I'm trying to big up.
We are about the boom damage here.
Oh yeah.
At the LCK.
The fact that ZEUS has more damage than anyone besides aiming is also quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the thick of things. We see sometimes Sions are like kind of on the outskirts of fights, and then they like ult in and try to find angles, but he's always in the middle of the fight, creating a lot of chaos, getting big knockups, big ults, setting up Zeka for that last seismic shove we saw.
And the CHO'GATH, it didn't really work, but it really doesn't feel like a pick issue. I just think that they got out-team fought really, really hard.
And it's hard to say because I feel like every game we have CHO'GATH, it just falls flat on his face like this. And it feels like an execution issue, but maybe at this point it's like, is CHO'GATH too hard for our teams to consistently win with?
I don't know.
Because they always seem to struggle with it. And I agree with you. I don't think this is like all CHO'GATH's fault or anything like that. Could have gone for other picks. There were definitely a lot of options for him. Even the Ambessa that he used to love, but is playing a lot less
like Ambessa, Camille, right?
Yeah.
These bruiser picks that have a lot of agency in fights. It does
even
make
the Nidalee.
Yeah, it does make me kind of wonder if this is something that DK relies a lot more on than maybe we initially thought, which is Shiyu on a carry, which when you think about a lot of their wins does actually make sense. Even going back to the win they found against HANWHA in the LCK Cup, which was off the back of the Ambessa, as the Lucid, I mean, he's still maybe going to give it a go, but there's uh-oh.
Yeah, they're pulling off the Baron here. Yeah, he goes in, and then he goes out, down into the Death Chamber. In goes ZEUS now. Looking for an angle here on Ashiu, no doubt. The rest of the team is not following this. Delight is now making his way in, but ZEUS doesn't take damage from these two, especially. Delight comes in, wall comes down. Now Ashiu in a lot of trouble, a knockback comes down. And again, ZEUS is kind of unkillable. We do have the knockup from Ashiu on the left side, but it's not going to matter. The wallets are just too heavy, and ZEUS is just tanking the turret as he TPs into mid lane.
Looked a little rough for HANWHA early on, but in the team fights, DK was absolutely no match for them. Kind of a stomp.
Will ZEUS die? Yes, he will.
Yeah,
Flash on in.
It's
over.
It's fine. If Viper somehow died in the ruckus, then maybe, but not going to be the case. DK still in the cursed timeline as a showmaker, having a little bit of fun with it as he gets taken out